Hey, this is J.J Hunter of the Hunter Brothers, and you're listening to Tobin Tonight.
J.J, can you tell us a little bit about your upbringing with having that many brothers?
Yeah, it was never a dull moment, that's for sure. We grew up in a small town of Shaunavon, Saskatchewan, down in the southwest corner of the province. We're not far from the Alberta border and not far from the Montana border. And, what do you do in a small prairie town but, farm in the summertime and play hockey in the wintertime, and that's exactly what we did. And then I guess the variable that was a huge part of our lives right from young was the music. And we kind of got it from both sides of the family, mom and dad. And it was a situation where mom put us in piano and dad put us in hockey, and they kind of supported each other in each of the endeavors. And really, we grew a love for both at a very early age. It was something that was just always part of our lives. And as we grew up, we, of course, loved the hockey and continued to play, at least, and different brothers took it to different levels. We had the farm in the summer, as I mentioned, and the music was just always there.
It seems so funny when you think about it with country music or just Canadian artists, because like Chad Brownlee, I believe, got drafted by, I believe, Vancouver or New York. I think it's Vancouver, but like he played hockey. Few of you even got drafted and moved your ways up the ranking. But the irony of it is like 4 or 5 of you played junior hockey, 3 played in the minors. You had 3 forwards, 2 defense, so like clearly you had an all-star lineup there. But like all suffered injuries, so you returned home to the farm, and then you were mentioning about the musical upbringing. But do you think it's something that was kind of like meant to be?
Yeah, it was. And there's different ways to approach it. From the hockey perspective, we all love the sport, and maybe the younger 2 brothers didn't love it quite as much, but we all played. Dad built us a rink just a few feet away from our house growing up. It was interesting because in the mornings we had a piano upstairs and downstairs, and 2 of the brothers would be practicing, and 1, 2, 3 of the other guys would be out playing hockey, and then we'd switch around. So it was a busy household for sure. And as the hockey progressed, we were pursuing it at a high level. You mentioned that all of us played rep hockey, 4 of us played junior, and then 3 of us went on to play pro. And so that was really what we were pursuing with quite a passion in those younger days. And when you're playing pro hockey, you're training in the summer as well. And so the plate got really full because we were gone all winter playing with our various teams. We'd come home, help dad whenever the playoffs were done, put the crop in the ground. And then what we became is kind of weekend warriors with the music. We would play on the weekends at various festivals throughout Western Canada and down into the United States. And during the weeks, if we weren't on the farm working, we were training like crazy for hockey. And that was kind of just our regular routine for a long time. Until, injuries started breaking in. Our youngest brother, Ty, broke his femur when he was playing midget hockey. Brock had a significant injury. Dusty and Luke, at slightly different times, had significant eye injuries. And, through various decisions and various circumstances, we all made our way back. But I do think one thing that was in the back of our minds at that point is when we came home, we had never pursued the music with the same vigor or passion that we had pursued the hockey, at least not collectively as a group. And so I think that was in the back of our minds. We didn't necessarily foresee things coming together the way that they have, in the last few years. But we definitely had music in the back of our minds as part of, what we wanted to do. And we started doing that with a lot more passion, with a lot more intentionality as the opportunities grew. And it was a long road. I tell you, Tobin, it wasn't just a quick thing that got us to where we were at now, but it was a long road and one that had plenty of ups and downs. But we sure are glad looking back that the roads led us to the place we're at now.
No, and I like how you mentioned, it's a long road because, if it's just say 2 or 3 brothers, like the Jonas brothers, or just 2 people, it's a lot easier to try to get everyone on board. But when you've got 5 of you guys trying to decide, is this a career we want? Do all 5 of us collectively want to do this? It can get a little bit, conflicting at times.
Yeah, there's 2 sides of that coin, I suppose. there's the aspect where, you've got 5, and especially now we have 5 different schedules. 4 of us are married, and the 4 married ones have kids. And so you start throwing kids in the mix and families and, as the kids get involved in things, there's a lot of schedules to juggle. So there's that side that is challenging for sure. As brothers, even though we grew up with a very, very similar upbringing, just the age difference, we're very different people and different personalities, different likes, dislikes, flavors, whatever. And so there are differences that we're continuing to have to navigate and work through, like any family or any relationship or any business venture. On the other hand, there's a huge comfortability factor as well, because we've done so many things together for so many years, whether it was, the farming, the music from a young age, even the hockey. We didn't play together on the same team until we got home and played some senior hockey together, but quite often we were out on the rink. Well, basically every day we were out on the rink that Dad built together as 5 brothers. And so there's that comfortability where whichever way you're looking when you're on stage or in an interview, that there's the camaraderie of family and you have each other's backs. And at the end of the day, if you have some differences, you'd go to bat for each other in a heartbeat. So there's kind of the both sides of the coin that play into it that make it interesting and it's never dull, as I mentioned right off the hop.
No, and of course we've got the best of the Hunter brother on, because we've talked about this in the prior interview as well, that you were the one who got drafted into the NHL. Like, you played for, I think it was like Edmonton, and you played for my team, which was the Detroit Red Wings. So obviously I knew which one we were getting on the show. No bias. All right.
Well, yeah, thanks. It was. I actually wasn't drafted. I signed as free agent, but my first ever NHL training camp was with the Detroit Red Wings, and that was quite an experience as a 19-year-old kid, going there and skating with the likes of Steve Yzerman and Nicholas Lidstrom and Sergei Fedorov, and the list was long at that point. Even Saskatchewan boy Joey Kosher and Chris Osgood, and there were just so many great players, and that was a real eye-opening experience, seeing how hard those guys worked, seeing how the intensity and the passion, and yet also the fun and the enjoyment that they were finding in the game, even after all the success that they had had. On the flip side, then I attended, I think, 6 consecutive training camps with the Edmonton Oilers and got to play preseason games with them. Most hockey players have their story of how things happened, and I guess I've got mine too. But it was one of those things where you get so close to having that opportunity to play in the National Hockey League, and you get within preseason games, and the lockout year was in 2005. That also kind of affected things. I would think a little bit for me, just being an undrafted player. You're looking for that chance. At the same time, I look back with such fondness, and there's so many memories and things that I cherish, friendships. We were just down in Nashville. Ryan Smith and his family are there, and got to hang out with him and go for a skate with him. And it's those friendships and those relationships that you go back to and really cherish, along with the as much or more than the on ice things.
Better off the path that you took, obviously, because you guys are up for Junos, especially in your own hometown or your own home province, which is really cool. What does that mean to you?
Yeah, thanks. First of all, it's an enormous honor, and when you look at the artists and the music that is created here in Canada, and that isn't just here nationally, literally is celebrated internationally around the world. There's so much talent, and to be part of the Junos, to be nominated in the categories that we are, and to be at the celebration is an enormous honor. On top of that, the fact that it's being hosted here in our home province of Saskatchewan makes it, especially special. And it's going to be just a great celebration, and we're thankful to be part of it. We've had so many people that have supported us along the way, right across the nation and as well as internationally, but we felt that backing from our home province. And that's something that's so important to us. We grew up in a small community where, helping each other is just kind of part of day-to-day life. And the farming community is known for being that way. Felt that growing up. And as we've continued on in the music career, that support has continued, and to have the backing of your hometown, your home province, it kind of gives you that foundation to work from. And we're so thankful for it.
And I just want to mention there as a side note, because of where the previous interview kind of got cut off and distorted, we had a little bit of time, and we actually got one of the Humboldt Broncos that was involved with the crash, and one of the ones that actually play for Humboldt now, to do a shout out for you guys for your episode. So I thought that was really cool.
Oh, that's amazing. That's super cool. And yeah, we've, that the tragedy that befell the Broncos organization really affected us deeply. My middle brother, Luke, he played with the Swift Current Broncos, not the Humboldt Broncos, but the Swift Current Broncos. And they had a bus tragedy as well. And so for him playing 5 years in Swift Current and seeing how it still affects, this many years later, still affects the team. They have memorials for those players for that event that happened even still to this day. And it's still a huge part of the organization and a real marking point for them. And so that hit close for him, being a part of an organization that had walked through, not the same event by any means, but something that took lives of players and whatnot as well. Then Dusty, my second brother, he played in the SJHL. And in fact, his final SJHL game ever played for him personally was against the Humboldt Broncos. And he traveled that exact road to Nipawin many times. And for all of us, traveling on buses through our hockey career, and now with the music, still traveling on buses, it hits so close to home. And we got to know a lot of the families, and just seeing the heartbreak and the heartache, and, their lives will never be the same.
JJ, I'm going to kind of poke a little fun at you, and hopefully you're going to be able to take it. But I'm just wondering, when you're talking about your playing career in hockey, and again, we'll get back into the music, but it's just so good that I have to kind of poke fun at you with this. But do you wonder when you're playing hockey and they see the name Hunter on the back, they're like, man, that has to be Mark Dale's kid. That's definitely Mark Dale Hunter's kid. And then when they see you play and you're like, I have no relation to these Hunters you're talking about, they're like, oh man, did we make a bad choice here?
I'm afraid they were much better players than any of us were, with those storied careers. It's funny, their names have come up quite often, especially now as we're doing music and doing events in London and whatnot, and they've had such an impact there, the Knights organization. And so it's definitely come up, hockey-wise. I don't think there's much comparison there. We love to play, but those were quite the careers they had.
No, and again, it's...
And are continuing.
Yeah, exactly. And it's funny, too, because even the name, like, I know where you get the name from, of course, you're all brothers, but, like, in my mind, I just think of the dream concert there of, like, the Hunter brothers and Hunter Hayes, and, like, Hunter Hayes joins the Hunter brothers as that other brother, and people are like, oh, this is so unexpected, what's going on here? Wouldn't that be ideal? Wouldn't that be a great concert?
Well, I hope I'm not sharing anything out of turn, but we've actually had the chance to write music with Hunter and hang out with him at his house, and we've actually got a text thread that's called All the Hunters, and he's become a good friend, and what a talented guy. So if ever that opportunity came to share anything more than just names together and to be able to do something together, we'd sure love that opportunity. But there's some great Hunters both in the hockey and the music world, and we just hope to maybe hold up some sort of end of our bargain there on end of the name deal, I guess.
When you were talking earlier about your hockey injuries and in music, and again with all the brothers, did it ever come to a point that when you weren't getting the recognition, or you thought you guys are working really hard but it's just not being noticed? Was there ever a point that you guys thought that it's not working, we got to break up?
Oh yeah, and I mean it wasn't in the sense of we were going to break up, because we've we're being brothers, we're kind of stuck together for life in many ways. I mean, I guess that's not entirely true, but we never have thought of not doing music, I guess. In fact, when we signed the deal with our management company and record label, one of the things and topics of conversation we had was that, whether or not we ever get a chance to release a song to radio, or we ever get to sign with a label, or whatever it is, pick any of the scenarios, music is always going to be a part of who we are. And we just simply love playing music. We love making music. We love singing together. The harmonies are something that we love to focus on. And that's just something that brings joy. And now, as I have kids of my own, I love seeing them sing and accompanying them as they sing. And so music infiltrates the world everywhere. And so that was always going to be part of who we are. And I think always will be, the format of how it would look. Yeah, there definitely have been question marks along the way. In fact, right before we signed the deal with our label, we had walked through a very, very rocky time with a scenario, and, not getting into details, there would have been, promises made from a certain company, and then things completely fell through and we were left stranded. And it was kind of one of those things where we were like, well, maybe we're going to be farmers and play, a few music gigs here or there and whatnot. We were doing some music in schools and whatnot. And we kind of had to come to grips with that and be okay that might be the reality. Saying that, around the corner, things looked up in real quick order. And so I think sometimes those real valleys that you have to walk through give you some perspective for the overall journey that you're on and the goals that you set and what's really important in life. And I think it's so important to have some of that perspective and not that we've got it all right. It was some of those low points that I think really spurred us on and encouraged us when things started to turn around to really dig in and listen. We all know that life is not always easy. You don't have to spend very much time talking to any individual to realize that we've all walked hard things and hard roads, and it's sometimes those hard things and quite often those hard things that mold you into the person that you are and shape your character. And hopefully, I guess, and one of the things that we've tried to do is not ignore some of that pain. And the Humboldt Broncos tragedy was something that we saw very close, in person. We knew the head coach. I didn't mention that earlier. And it's one of those things that hopefully we have tried in our music and as we're interacting with people to try and not ignore the pain, but try and look for joy in everyday life too, where you can, and bring that happy, side of things as much as possible, and as well as grow from your mistakes and learn from it. And we in no way, shape or form do that perfectly, but it is something that we've talked about frequently that we hope we can bring with our music. And as we interact with people, everybody's got a story, everybody has a name, and every single one of those stories are worth hearing and need to be heard, and that shape those individuals. And so, those are things that are important to us.
No, and I agree, and I really like the answer. I like how you elaborated on that. Now, JJ, just to close out this interview, are you willing and are you able to have a little fun?
Yeah, absolutely. Let's do it.
All right, let's play a game of brotherly love.
Okay.
Who would you consider the funniest Hunter brother?
Funniest looking?
Well, wow, you're going real deep there. I meant like funny, like a guy that's going to make you laugh, not funny looking. Come on,
no.
JJ.
Yeah, do you know what? They each have their own way of being funny. Brock's just kind of a goof, and he's not afraid to do anything. You throw a dare in front of him, and he'll probably take the bait and go for it. Dusty's really sarcastic. You have to kind of get to know his humor, but once you do, he's really dry but really funny. Ty's the youngest, and so he's just full of life, and every day he's laughing and joking and having a good time. And then Luke was the one that I would say on the ice was the funniest. He was quick on the ice with his comebacks, at least anytime I was playing with him. So there's a broad answer.
Oh, yeah. No, it sounds like Luke is like almost like Shorzy on Letterkenny. Just, always chirping. Who has the best style?
Oh, man. Each brother thinks that they have the best style, I think.
But clearly you do, right?
Yeah,
No.
exactly. Very clearly. I would say probably Luke, but that's no thanks to him. I think his wife dresses him, and so I would say Luke's wife has the best style.
Okay, well, shout out to Luke's wife. Who is Captain Serious? Who would you consider like the Jonathan Taves of your group?
Yeah, Dusty, definitely. Dusty could be having the best day or the worst day, and they look very similar. You're not sure which it is, but yeah, Dusty would be. He brings the seriousness, but he also brings the level-headedness.
That's fair. So he keeps you in line. Who's the best hockey player? Now choose wisely.
Well, I would say anybody that got to skate with the Detroit Red Wings at one point, right, Tobin? Was that the answer you're looking for?
I mean, out of all of you, who's the best hockey player?
Oh, man, I got to give you the political answer here. We were good at different things. Well, the two youngest brothers were defensemen, so I don't think defensemen really count, to be honest with you, as hockey players. So we'll go with one of the three forwards. Luke was the fastest, best face-off man, best penalty killer, shot blocker, and probably had the most raw talent, I would say. Dusty was a little smaller, quick, agile, great hands, best playmaker of the group. And I think I was a little bit more the power forward, maybe just all around. I tried to pride myself in being good, all ends of the, both ends of the rink and wherever. So I was able to reach the highest level, I suppose, but I don't think necessarily I was the best player.
And JJ, I will apologize because I know that CBC, Hockey Night in Canada, Sportsnet, they're all going to come after you in the next few, as soon as this gets posted, because they're going to say, J.J. Hunter says defensemen don't count.
I'm in trouble.
Yeah, that's the power of editing. But we're going to keep that in there. No, who's the best farmer of the family?
That would be Dusty. He runs a lot of our agronomy. He takes care of our crop inputs, our crop rotations, and has a real passion for the farm. Not that others of us don't, but he would have the greatest passion, and he loves digging into kind of the science behind it and why certain crop rotations work better and how to restock the ground with the proper nutrients in order to get the best product and fixate, certain plants fixate nitrogen and whatnot, legumes. So he loves all that stuff. If you ever want to have an in-depth conversation about farming, just ask Dusty a couple questions and you're in for an all-day chat.
That's going to do it for this episode of Tobin Tonight. Our thanks to J.J. Hunter for coming on the show. Remember, you can find past, present, and future episodes on TobinTonight.com, Spotify, and iTunes. Follow us on Twitter, like us on Facebook, and leave a comment or two. For Tobin and myself, this is Jacob saying, imagine if all brothers had to make it to the NHL. The league would be on notice. Thank God they found their softer musical side. Thanks for listening, and good night.